So I recently got my hands on the Lego passenger train set number 60197, and I love it. It looks really cool, especially when you have a full set, which unfortunately does require 2 sets, which makes it quite expensive, but I want to make some changes to make it look better. So let's release the brakes, put it into notch 5 and head straight into this video. There's 2 things I'll be changing about this set. One is one of the locomotives and one of the catering buffet cars, which will see an upgrade to serve better food for the passengers on board. So starting with the changes to the locomotive. For these changes, I was inspired by the real life Class 68 locomotive and Mark V sets in the UK. These trains use one locomotive at one end doing all of the work and a cab control car at the other end, which does look similar to the locomotive that's doing the work. That means I want to remove the power up battery box and motor bogie, which will free up some space back here. Then sacrifice one of the passenger coaches for parts to make the back bit here where the battery box was into a passenger compartment with some seats and windows for the passengers. So let's do it. And this is what we get. I wanted to keep the colour scheme used intact as much as possible, so I moved the side part where the grey and the blue slope into each other further up the locomotive. Using some of the parts from the passenger coach, I put in some windows. Then because I took the battery box out, because this coach isn't going to be motorised anymore, we had some space which I filled with 2 sets of chairs to house some passengers. Also, because this isn't a motorised locomotive now, I've removed the pantograph from this end and added it to the other end, which is motorised. So now the locomotive for this train has dual pantographs for collecting power from the overhead wires. It's surprising how modern this train looks with this modification, and it also makes it look more like the train that Lego brought out in 2014, just with a different nose shape and colour scheme. Moving on to the buffet car, and I mean, the original one wasn't too bad. You have some side tables where passengers can eat their food and drink their drinks. At one end of the carriage there's a serving hatch where you can get your food, but it looks a little bit lacking. So I want to upgrade it to a proper-ish kitchen setup that can make more than donuts, croissants and coffee. Because what if one of our passengers fancies a full English on their way to work? So with this upgrade, I aim to at least get an oven, hob and microwave into this carriage, which did mean that almost half of it was taken up by the new kitchen setup. With all the upgrades fitted, this is what it looks like. Quite a difference, eh? I did change a bit on the outside of the carriage as well, mainly making some of the windows smaller, which is similar to real life buffet cars like seen on the British Rail Mark III and Mark IV coaches seen in the UK. Then on the inside we have 2 ovens with a grill on top, with a microwave, which is a small build I found on the internet, but looks really good, with a set of drawers for utensils below that. Finally, citizens of Lego City can rejoice. No longer will they have a warmed up croissant for food, and instead will be served a lovely warm meal. I really like this upgrade. It definitely looks more in line with what you'd see on trains in terms of food serving options. That is all for upgrades now though. What do you think of these changes? Is there anything you would do different? If you wanted to make these upgrades yourself, I've made the instructions available on Rebrickable for free. I'll leave a link in the description to the Rebrickable page where you can find and download the instructions and parts list needed to make these alterations. That is all for this video. If you liked it, feel free to smash that like button. But as always, take care of yourselves and I'll see you all in the next video.